Hello everyone and welcome to this video where we are talking about the talk of the town, which is sails. Today we just got an update from the developers. They gave us a bunch of new information and pretty much told us what to expect. Now the sails update is coming in the next 2 weeks, so in exactly 2 weeks actually, and we're going to be receiving a bunch of stuff that's going to enable some really cool creations. Now I did showcase these creations in the past. These are not my builds, but you can see just how cool and intricate sailing boats can be. A month ago, I released a video that had my predictions and ideas, and first of all, I went through the parts of what makes a sailboat and how they work. Now, before making this video and before doing the research, I'll be honest with you, I had absolutely no idea how a sailing boat actually worked, let alone the orientation of the mainsail, the jib sail, all this stuff. There is a big knowledge, or a lot of knowledge, that'll come with this, and actually that's what makes me super excited. So make sure you check out this video. I'm not going to go into detail of how the different parts of the sail work and how to, make the boat move upwind and stuff like that. You can see that there, as well as other research on the internet. What we're going to talk about is the actual update we received today, which gave us some new information. Now, I'm well aware all of you can read, but bear with me. We're going to go through these points because there may be some interesting talking items as I go through it. So that's why I do it. I don't read it to read you a bedtime story. I read it so we can discuss the points. So it's telling us we're going to be getting the new sail. We know that when 4 sail anchors are linked together in the editor with the rope tool, a sail is generated. So keep in mind, it's going to work just like what we have with the fishnets. In the editor, when you have your fishnet, you have the ability to link them together with a rope anchor. Now, keep in mind, you go here and you can attach them. Now, most of you are well aware of this, so this is nothing new. But what's neat, or what's sort of a drawback, is that if you have 3, it won't work. And same with the sails. So that actually eliminates some type of sails that we would have liked to see, especially for smaller sailing boats. But it may come. So I'm going to be hopeful and say that I would like to see something like that come to Stormworks, where we end up with a larger triangular sail. But I will tell you that it may be a limitation of the physics. So from my engineering background, when we do finite element analysis, FEM, Google it if you're not aware of that, you create a body or a bunch of square or rectangular shaped blocks because forces are easier to transfer through squares than triangles. So we may be stuck with a limitation of physics. So while some of these triangular sails look fantastic, I'm sure there will be workarounds where you can make some kind of a frame or put something, here, 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 and then either in the middle or maybe one like right next to it or something. I'm absolutely going under the assumption right now, with the information we have, that the sail is going to be pretty similar physics-wise to that fishing net. So if we just use this boat quickly to make said fishing net / sail, whatever you want to call it, of course this will not spawn, but if we do something like this, let's just see what it looks like. I'm genuinely curious. I've not really played around with triangular type sails. So it seems you can still create something. I mean, that's pretty good to me. It is a little saggy there, but if we tighten it up, we may actually end up making it look a little more triangular. So that works. The next talking point is that sails react to the wind in the expected way, obviously. They billow out with simple cloth physics, catch the energy of the wind. The anchors have an input node to allow the sails to be resized. So what I just mentioned here, when this is active, the size of the sail will relax towards the sea and set out by the anchors. So again, I'm imagining identical to what we see with the fishing net. Now this is the other portion. So sails obviously are above the waterline and the keel is beneath. So a new keel component is a companion to the sails to add forces to counter tilt to keep the boat upright. The keel acts as a heavy fin fitted to the bottom. I also did talk about this in this video. As you could see, beneath all of these sailing boats are keels. So they work beneath here, and obviously they're supposed to counteract the massive force that you have above the water, you know, something pushing up here, and make sure that the boat doesn't just tip over on its axes, just plop like this. So the keel is a super important part, and we are getting them. Of course, that comes as no surprise, but what is neat is that we get 3 sizes of keels. Now, if you watched my video, you'll note that I talked about different types of keels, different shapes entirely, so not just sizes, but different shapes, different kind of configurations. But it seems that we are just getting the 4 sizes. So interesting to note, and while things like the retractable keel can move, I am sure we're going to be able to place a keel on a pivot or on a sliding track or whatnot and have it go up and down. So we still have that ability. So far we've gone through this. Sails, they're going to be attached to 4 anchors, 3 types of keels. And this is actually really cool. They're giving us flags. We're getting 3 sizes of flags, over 160 different designs. So there's going to be all kinds of things, countries, flat colors, even YouTubers. So that's really neat, and it's going to give boats some kind of distinction. Now, what is really cool about that is previously people were using paintable blocks and making their own flags. Well, we're going to now get a flappy update. I love the pun there. So while it seems there are some limitations to the sailing update, I really have to say I'm super excited just because I think that even with the limitations, that's the beauty of Stormworks. There's limitations everywhere. It can't all be whatever it is we want, and that's not me saying to promote the developers or to promote the game or anything like that. It's just, that's engineering, folks. Sometimes you want a piece of steel and it's unavailable, so you got to make a workaround. And if our workaround is to have 4 points, then so be it. We're going to make do with that. And if it is to have one type of keel, then I'm sure there's all kinds of configurations. Now, what's really neat is with the keel piece that we're going to get, obviously it's not this, I'm just showing you this as an example, it's going to balance the boat. It's going to make the boat a little bit better behaved when you have something super high sticking out of the water. Now, one really interesting comment that I had as we were talking with my moderator group in my Discord server is, how will that affect boats that are not sailing boats that we decide to add the keel piece to? Will it create more stability for narrow boats? As you can see, sailing boats tend to be pretty long and pretty narrow, and that's one of the biggest challenges I was actually facing with a lot of my Regal built designs. As you can see here, all of these smaller boats, specifically the Uvala, this one, while not even being that narrow or that tall, took quite a bit of challenge to balance out this top area, to the point where you could see I used these very thin pieces because they only weigh 2 blocks. I kind of really minimized the weight up top, and even still, even for such a small boat, I actually have in here a piece of machinery that moves around, a block of weights that move around on some sliding tracks to counter the weight that you may experience and the listing that may come from having something that is top heavy. Now again, not even that top heavy, yet we still see it. So will a boat like this benefit from adding a keel? Hopefully, and probably. So that's something we're going to explore when the update comes. But I gotta say, the biggest thing I'm excited for, obviously, are the sailing boats that we're going to be able to develop. So let's see what I can think of here quickly. Now I'm going to take this boat. At this point, I could have started with a brand new hull, but let's just see. So I deleted most of the ship. That's looking pretty good. And now, as we have it, something else to consider. I think usually with sailboats, you want to be able to walk all the way around. So for this design, it seems that the 2 wheels are a bit of overkill, but I do understand that if the boat's kind of lifted up on its high end, you want to be steering from whatever side that is. but maybe there's a workaround where I don't necessarily need to do that. So I'll really have to see how the rest of this thing balances. So far, I don't hate it. I think it's not too bad. The cabin is quite streamlined. Obviously, I'll be putting in my usual refinements, but you could see here it's pretty spacious, all things told. Of course, the main thing required is the sailing mast. So that's where I'll have to continue on with this creation in the next video when the update actually comes, because there's really no knowing how I can possibly make it work until we get it. So the best thing I can do probably is put a pivot. I imagine we're going to be able to use them as sort of our starting point, and then it'll have to have a tall mast like this with multiple booms. Now I may even need 2 pivots, to be honest, most likely 2 pivots, because what's going to happen is I'll have to move them separately. Now, of course, these singular just blocks don't look very nice. I would have preferred to be using, I believe, the fuel like this, but keep in mind that it has a mass of 5, and we're already talking about a very tall object. So now if we just do this, yeah, it looks a little nicer that it's circular, but you end up with something super heavy that's going to make your boat even more top heavy, so that's not ideal. Again, I'm learning on the job, so apparently no, you don't want to have that. You'll want to have the other sail in a different position such that you can position it separately from the other one. So if this goes there, we'll have that one something like that, and of course each one will have this portion here. Now this one is where I really don't know. Is it that small? Do we want to make it coming out from the other side like this? So there's really some play with how this actually will come to fruition. But like I said, this is the starting point. I'm sure this thing's going to sink now, or bob around, tip over. So we'll have to wait for that keel component to actually be able to not behave in this manner. But I'm super excited for this update, so let me know in the comments what you think, what you're excited for, how you foresee your future sailing boat builds. And until next time, happy Stormworksing. Now before we end off, I do want to thank all of my special YouTube boosters, or Discord boosters, and YouTube members, because they support me additionally and make sure that I can just feel extra loved. Really, that's what it is. This is all for fun, so it's nice to kind of feel that love. But regardless, seeing nice comments, I also feel the love, or getting subscribers. So until next time, happy Stormworksing, everyone.